What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. That's right, the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there.
Well,
How
hello.
we doing today, Casino?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got back from Costco. Man, I am good at Tetris. I'll tell you that. I'm a genius. The amount of stuff that I can fit in that fridge, I feel so accomplished. And also another thing, my wife was not here when I brought home Costco, and I'm really, really, really happy because we got a rotisserie chicken, and I like to get it cut up and put away in the containers right away. She just hovers because have you ever seen that episode of South Park where Cartman is just eating the chicken skins?
Yes.
That's my wife. I'm surprised they have not cut off her hand or a finger because I'm trying to cut and she just reaches in and grabs the chicken skin and starts eating it. So it was very, very nice that I did not have to deal with my wife today eating the chicken skin while I was carving up the rotisserie chicken. Very happy. So win-win.
Yeah, I am much like your wife, Casino.
I know you like the chicken skin. I know.
Yeah, shout out to Casino's wife, my biggest fan on this podcast. So great. That joke will never die. But
the best part about it is she doesn't listen to it. I'm just saying, you know this.
She listens to it in secret.
Oh, right.
And just
well, she tried that one time, and it was literally just you saying the word cock like 10 times in like the first minute and a half, and she was like, "Yeah, I think I'm good."
Usually, that's what brings people in.
Yeah, right.
But we are here today.
But we'll talk about cocks and red rockets later.
Yeah. But we are here today to first, before we get into what Casino just talked about,
yes,
first talk about NFL Week 3, Casino, and we're doing it a little differently this week because I still have marquee, mid, and miserable matchups. So we're gonna go through those matchups, and then I have a question for each of those teams that I'm gonna ask to. Well, both of us, Casino. So we got a lot to get through. And before we do, I just wanted to show you that my son made a little character that reminded me of you just based on skin tone.
Great.
Your wife's my biggest fan. My son's your biggest fan. This is Casino. Just clearly based on their tan. But let's Casino just get into it. First, and we're just gonna go right down the marquee, mid, and miserable match. We did on Thursday. So first up, of course, is the marquee matchups, and this one ended up being a marquee matchup and a doozy, and that was Eagles at Saints, Casino.
Arguably the most exciting game. One of the most exciting games of the week, because a lot of even though the score. Well, here's the thing: even though a lot of the scores look close, those were like late touchdowns or this and that. I really enjoyed watching. I was at the game, so I didn't get to see a lot of this game particularly, but I was able to watch a lot of the highlights, and I enjoyed it.
I was the entire time I was watching this game, I was that one meme of the one guy go, "I'm straight up not having a good time." That's what I was during this entire game, straight up not having a good time. And the Eagles end up winning 15-12, but for a large portion of this game, and the large portion being the first, second, and third quarter, this was a 3-point game. And Nick Sirianni, the Eagles head coach, just decided that he could be up 9-3, but for whatever fucking reason, just decided to go for it on every fourth down. My new biggest pet peeve about watching NFL football games is the announcers constantly going like, well, analytics says they should be going for it. Oh, analytics says they should. And it's just like, shut up. We're watching the same game. We know when it's a 3-point game, you should be kicking every field goal, especially when it's the third quarter and it's still a 3-point game. There was Eagle fans in the stands in the Saints game. They would cut to almost every fourth down, and every Eagles fan was screaming, kick the field goal, go for 3. They're literally telling their team to stop going for it on fourth down. And then also the Eagles, okay, They need to play defense like they did in this game the rest of the season, and their defense will be great because their defense in this game was great. No arguments about the defense. The offense, I've just come to accept the fact that Jalen Hurts is going to have one turnover where I go, I mean, it's not really his fault. It's kind of 50-50. Like, there's a turnover in every game that I will justify with myself was like a 50-50 ball that he
Right.
just got the shit end of the stick is. And then there will always be a Jalen Hurts turnover that is egregious and makes me rip hair out of my skull. Okay. And wouldn't you know it, Casino, in the first 3 weeks of the season, those two things have happened in every single Eagles game. The third thing is the Eagles got so much shit over the tush push for the past 2 years, right? In the offseason, it's always like,
It's a broken play. It's a broken
yes, we
play.
need to
We're
outlaw
gonna
it.
get
We need
rid
to
of it.
vote on it. Yes. And then it's never outvoted or it's never voted out of the league. At the Eagles, again, I've been to one Eagles game in my life, and it was last year against the Rams. When they lined up for the tush push, and because it's the Rams in LA, much like the Chargers and the Rams, they have no fans ever at those games. So it was 90% Eagles fans. When they lined up for the tush push, that place, everybody was on their feet. Everybody was going crazy. It's like the best play to see live if you're an Eagles fan because everybody loses their minds out of it. They do not do the tush push enough. They don't lean into the tush push enough. This should be a thing where if it's 3rd and 2 or 4th and anything less than 3, 4th and 3 even, go for it. Go for it with, and again, go for it with the tush push. You're still going for it on 4th down all the time, but you're trying to like outthink the room. And it's like, oh, well, they think I'm doing the tush push, but I'm really doing a sweep to the outside, or I'm really doing a counter, or I'm really having Saquon Barkley try to run around the edge. Just do the tush push. It works, and it's frustrating to people because it works. Other teams hate it because it works. Other people hate it because it works against their team. Use the tush push if it's 3rd and 2, 4th and 2 every single time. Again, you try to outthink the room and then you fuck it up. 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2 are such hard plays because everybody's congested right there. So they're going to be congested anyways. We saw this in the Falcons Chiefs game where they lined up for like a quarterback sneak and tried to do like a sweep outside or a halfback stretch, and it immediately got blown up. Everybody is right there at the line of scrimmage. Do the fucking tush push. But all that being said, Casino,
your team won. We got our pick. We got our pick wrong.
Yes. Great or bad win for the Eagles?
You know what? I'm going to give him an 80. I'm going to give him an 80 because I love the connection. I mean, dude, Dallas Goedert. What a game.
Maybe the best game of his life. Maybe
Dude,
the
what a
best
game.
game. Well, definitely the
10
best game of his
receptions,
Eagles career.
170 yards. He was averaging 17 yards a damn carry or a damn catch. Great for him. Awesome. Saquon Barkley. He might feel like he's back in New Jersey, back playing for the Giants because, man, is he getting worked? He's being used as a workhorse like crazy.
Yeah. And again, Eagles offense, I honestly, after the Saints game, I have no issues with the Eagles offense. I have no issues with the Eagles defense. It's literally all coaching and coaching decisions, which is driving me up a fucking wall.
Huge. It's huge.
They're 5th in the league in passing after this game, 3rd in the league in rushing. They have the 2nd total offense in the league. They have when you watch the games, they have a very balanced pass run attack, right? And Hurts, I mean, I said this on Twitter and I got a bunch of likes for it during the game, Casino. If he stopped his turnovers or literally even cut them in half, he'd be a top 5 quarterback in the league right now without question. He's got almost a 71% completion percentage. He's the leading passer in the league in terms of passing yards. He's only got 3 touchdowns, but he has 4 interceptions and I think 2 fumbles. So
yeah,
he's also almost
touchdowns
got
touchdowns are way down, man.
Well, I think that's just across the league. Across the league, touchdowns are down. But I wrote that greater bad win for the Eagles. Curious to see what Casino would say, but I'm just gonna say it's a win. And again, after Monday night's game where
That's fair.
they were a Saquon Barkley drop away from being 3-0, I will take it. Because again, we're gonna get to
They'll figure
this.
it out. This is week 3. This is
Yes.
week 3.
Which also, because I missed Sunday's solo show because we were doing family pictures at Red Rock, uh, I miss
Can I have a pocket size one for it, please?
yes.
Thank you.
I missed Sunday's show. So on this episode, Casino and I are gonna play maybe or definitely maybe, I don't know, at the end. So stay
We're
tuned
talking
for
about our
that.
dating life
Yeah.
between each
Uh
other.
yeah, we're just talking about anytime Casino and I meet.
Yeah,
Definitely, maybe.
maybe.
I don't know. But Casino, my question about the Saints is, are they fool's gold? Are they fool's gold? You are muted.
Sorry. My son's over here playing with things, as you can hear him still. Um, I don't think so. I just think it may have been a bad game. I mean, there's still more to see from the Saints. They're still 2-1. Considering there's other teams in this league that are 0-3 or 1-2 that we expected to be a lot better. I'm I'm still very now intrigued in the Saints as well as a couple other teams. Saints are definitely one. I mean, they're a field goal away. They're from tying and possibly going. Like, this was a very close game. They scored. They were leading with like 2.5 minutes left to go in the game or whatever it was. They are almost 3-0. Like,
Yeah.
this Derek Carr, who's one of well, after this weekend, not so much, but he was in the MVP race after 2 weeks. Like, mind
Yeah.
blowing.
I do
So,
think this game, it really showed that if you limit Alvin Kamara and kind of make Derek Carr have to pass to beat you, that's where the issue comes in because those first two games where he just put up 40 points on both the Panthers and then the Cowboys, what we saw in those games was the run setting up the pass. And I think that is how that Saints offense operates. So if you can
right.
lock down Alvin Kamara and be like, all right, you got no Kamara. He only had,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, he
because
had
he go for it.
26 carries,
Yeah, that's a
87
lot of
yards.
carries. You don't break 100 with 26 carries. Whew.
Well, also when you're only averaging 3 yards a carry, like
Yeah,
again, the Eagles defense was lights out. And if they play like that, again, I think the Eagles are still at the moment the best, one of the best teams in the NFC. But if they don't get, if Nick Sirianni doesn't fucking
but man,
cool it,
does it feel like after this
whew,
last week, the NFC is just wide open?
bro, we'll get to that, Casino. We'll get to that. But yeah, I think if you have to, if you're the Saints, if you have to rely on Derek Carr to win you a game, I think he can. But when it gets to the playoffs, it's a whole other animal. And again, we've seen some elite defenses, mostly in the AFC. So I'm not even saying on the NFC side, they can't just go straight to the Super Bowl
Right.
because as we'll get to it, I don't think there's really any good teams. Like everybody's kind of in the middle. But all right. So no, I don't think the Saints are fool's gold. Next up, Casino, a game that was supposed to be marquee that was almost over in the third quarter, and that was my Minnesota Vikings. Uh, on this show, I stuck my flag in them, maybe not all the way, but deep enough where I can still claim them to be my Minnesota Vikings for the show specifically. 34-7 against the Houston Texans. And again, by the third quarter, it was 21-7, and it felt like this game was over. The
Yeah,
Houston scored
it
one
was.
touchdown, and that was it.
Yeah, and Stroud with 2 interceptions, that does not help his MVP race status, but man, I'll tell you what, man, Vikings, Sam Darnold, more mobile than I thought he ever was.
Yeah.
Um,
And the big news
well
going
done.
around this week, Sam Darnold younger than Joe Burrow. I've literally heard that 500 times since this game happened. So he's a young buck. He's been in the
Right.
league since he's been 21. Remember that was the big thing coming out of with him coming out of college was like, he's only 21. He's so young, blah blah blah. And now he's literally been in the league for 7 years and he's only 27 years old. That's crazy. But go on,
You think
Casino.
and just they're 3-0 without arguably, you know how much I love him. TJ Hawkinson not playing right now, still out with his knee injury. That wait till he comes back. Like I mean, and Justin Jefferson, yes, he's in, but I mean, he's been banged up already this season. So he's not maybe at 100%, maybe 90. But man, if you get a good tight end in there with for Sam Darnold, man, this is a scary team. I'm coming around on the Vikings. I Sam Darnold is very impressive. You got to admit, I know regardless your Vikings are going to be better than what most people think, pick, and you're doing great there. You can't tell me that you thought Sam Darnold was going to be this good.
No, when I remember when I was doing my Vikings talk, my whole thing was I love everything on this Vikings team except I don't trust Sam Darnold. That was like I
Right.
think their
Right.
defense in what is
And
it?
wow.
3 weeks into the season, I think they might have the best NFC defense, which I think was one of the things I said when we were
I
previewing
think
the
you're right.
NFC
I think
North
you're right. But man,
was
you nailed this Viking team so far. They looked good. I mean, Texans a real Super Bowl contender going into the year, and I still think are a real Super Bowl contender. They went into Minnesota and Minnesota stopped them. They made CJ Stroud have to struggle for once. I mean, Sam Darnold wasn't perfect. He was 17 for 28 for only 181 yards, but 4 touchdowns. Aaron Jones, man, I love it. Aaron Jones, the running back league, man, it's here. Everybody's saying it's a passing, it's to a quarterback league. Sorry, Tua, I know you're injured. I don't mean to make fun of you, but you said it. You said it. It's on paper before you got injured. And man, running back league, I think right now.
Yeah. And again, the thing I like about this Vikings team is their defense gives up a lot of yards, does not give up a lot of points at all.
Right.
Like against the high powered Texans, they gave up 1 touchdown. Against the 49ers, they gave up 17 points. And against the Giants, who have looked way better than we thought they would be, only
Ah,
gave up
I got
6.
woohoo. You
So,
picked down. I picked down. Let go. But no,
uh,
I'm very impressed with the Vikings, and I don't think this is anywhere needing to be struggle time or panic time for the Texans. They just lost a game. They got outplayed by a team they didn't expect to be as good. So there it is.
So my question, Casino, and I think we did just both answer it. Are the Vikings legit?
I think after that performance against the Texans, yes,
I think so as well.
I
And
think
then
so.
they're gonna get
Because Sam
kind of the
Darnold, because
next
we've seen it before. As long as a quarterback can play mediocre 50-50 football and still win the Super Bowl, we've seen it many times. So,
yeah.
and
Well, and
this
then
team is good. And if Sam Darnold just protects the football and he plays middle of the road or a little better than middle of the road, you got a success right there.
or you throw the ball what? You said he threw it 18 times in this game?
17. And
7
again,
or 17 completions, but
17
28
completions
attempts.
28 times.
Dude, if he throws it 20 times a game and 10 of those passes go to Justin Jefferson, like that's the winning
And
formula.
again, wait till TJ Hawkinson comes back.
Yeah.
Say he comes back and he's fully healthy mid-season and they they say they've played 8 9 games, they call it 9 games, and Hawkinson comes back and they've only lost 2 and they're 7-2. I would be scared of this team.
Well, you look
Like,
at their next couple games, they play the Packers, which who knows if a Love
well,
will be back for that
that's
game.
that's going to be one of my favorite games of the week next
Oh,
week. I'll
that's definitely a marquee matchup. But then they play the Jets. So next 2 weeks maybe tough. They have a bye week and then they go to Detroit, which I feel like Detroit has been a little more disappointing than we thought they would be.
Yeah, it's
But
early in the
then
season. They're still winning games.
But then after that, the next 3 weeks where it's really hard games, they go Rams, everybody on that team's injured.
Yeah,
Then
and they still pulled off a win.
they go Colts, Jags, Titans, Bears. I feel like they're gonna be favored in all 4 of
All
those
4 of those
games.
games. Yeah.
Yeah. But all right, let's move on to the next team, Casino, and that is the Texans. Are they still the one team who can dethrone the Chiefs in the NF or in the AFC? I'm using your
I don't
own words against you.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. You can use those words. No, I don't think any team can dethrone the Chiefs. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I just don't get me fired up yet. Don't get me fired up
I
yet.
don't again, I don't know, just the 3 weeks we've seen from the Texans, they played that weird game against the Colts, weirder game against the Bears, and then laid an egg against, the Vikings. I have not liked one game I've seen from the Texans. Something just seems off there. CJ
Well,
Stroud he's good, but he's not, like, lighting it up like he has been. I mean, he has what? This season, he has, uh 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And again, I know we just talked about how nobody's really lighting it up this year in terms of like touchdowns. But again, when you watch him, just something seems off. Not just about him, whole team. Something seems off. But let's move on to the next game. That was one of our marquee matchups, Casino. So far, Saints Eagles was great. Texans Vikings was a dud, and Chargers Steelers was exactly what we thought it would be, just smash mouth, defense back and forth. Both these teams were all stars. They got their game on. They went and played. But it was the Steelers winning 20-10 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now the Steelers 3-0. An early, definitely, maybe, I don't know, definitely Steelers guy knew what he was talking about because Steelers are always good. I don't know how. They're just
it's
good.
their coach, man. It's their coach, and it's this is ridiculous. I, I'm just excited for. I can't wait for Russell Wilson to be healthy and to hear that press conference on how they have to stick with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
They
Uh,
have they have to stick with Justin Fields. Yes, he threw an interception this game, but he also threw a touchdown and he was 25 for 32. That's
he looked
really
good.
good.
He
That's
looked good this
really
game.
good. You have out of 32, you have 7 completions that you did not make. So that's a drop pass, that's an underthrown ball. That's
That's
just
throwing the
throwing
ball
it.
away.
That's
Yeah.
throwing the ball away. Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. My daughter's even
Especially
scared by it.
Well, yeah, especially against a Chargers team that, again, coming into this game, most people thought the Chargers, like we did, we both picked the Chargers. We both thought they would just run the ball, control the clock, have Justin Herbert do a couple of throws here and there to, you know, move the sticks and get the lead. And that's kind of what the Steelers did, right? They had Najee Harris, 18 carries, 70 yards, Cordell Patterson, 4 carries, 33 yards. And then, yeah, just feed it to George Pickens, feed it to Calvin Austin the third. Again, another Steelers wide receiver that just comes out of fucking nowhere. I'm
Yeah.
sure he'll be an all pro and starting on a team 2 years from now.
Yeah, dude.
But
I mean, the Steelers are going to win. I love every time I have this conversation with a Steelers fan and they're like, "Oh, the coach has got to go. He's got to go. He's got to go." Um no.
if
Why?
he was fired tomorrow, 31 other teams would be like, should we replace our coach with Mike Tomlin? Literally
All
31 other
day.
teams. But this is my question
I
for
will
this
say
game, Casino.
I love him. He's such a great coach. And I know
Yeah.
that I we said this might be the year the Steelers go, and they still have time, but we said this might be the year that the Steelers go under 500. It's going to be close. We did say that, but that's just because we weren't sure about their quarterback situation. Nothing against the coaching. And
Yeah, or their
gal
defense. Their
or their
defense,
defense.
again,
And
looks like the best in the league. TJ Watt.
we just
Ugh.
yeah. Oh man, he's definitely living up to the family hype. Well done for him. What were his stats in that game? If you could pull
Uh,
them up. So I have it right here. So he had 1 sack. So not amazing in this game, but I mean, he's been pressuring like crazy. He is so much fun to watch. Ugh. But
yeah,
I
and
what I
then
go for it.
coincidentally in this game, when it comes to the Chargers, for some reason, because that just reminded me of who also got a sack in this game was Derwin James. Did you see the breaking news today that apparently what Derwin James did in this game was so bad that he is suspended for just one game? And guess who that game is against?
The Chiefs.
Yes.
What do you do?
So funny. I think he did. I think he got one flag in this game for unnecessary roughness or something like that. But weird that they suspended him just one game and not fined him or anything like that. But again, we're just conspiracy theorists. But
Well, until
when it comes to the Steelers casino, we were asking, will this be the first losing season? Now we're asking 3 weeks into the season, will
are they
the
going to lose a game?
will the Steelers team finish first in the AFC North? Right now, they have a 2-game lead over the Ravens and the Browns, who are both 1-2. Bengals are 0-3. Steelers are 3-0.
I still have the Ravens coming back and figuring their shit out. I do. I have them figuring it out. I'm not giving up on the Ravens just yet. Again, if they lost this week, the Bengals and the Ravens, they had this week to prove themselves. I liked what the Ravens did. Um, I still think the Ravens can come back and win this division. But the Steelers, playoff bound, with what they're doing right now, they look good.
Well, and also when you look at, I mean, again, this defense for the Steelers
I think
is
I picked the Bengals to be the one of the wild card spots, if I recall. Steelers are taking that spot all day. They
oh,
look so good.
yeah. The number 2 team that has allowed the fewest points against them was the Chargers with 33 points. The Pittsburgh Steelers have only allowed 26 points this entire
Yeah.
season.
Yep.
And
I saw that stat. That's insane.
after those 2 teams, every team almost has except for the Vikings, who have only allowed 30 points against them, but every other team almost has 60 to 90. So those 3 teams, again, the 3 best defenses I've seen all season, Chargers, Steelers, and Vikings. It's everybody else is like a real distant second if those 3 are all tied for first.
Yeah.
But
Not worried about the Chargers at all.
well, that was my next question. Are the Chargers still contenders?
I love everything I'm seeing with their coaching. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Plus, Justin Herbert got banged up the week before. Um, or
And
no,
it
he got banged up.
definitely looked
He got banged up this week, and so he had to come out.
yes.
And then Heineke came in. Man, 2 for 2 though. Heineke. Um, so we'll see how that goes moving forward. I I feel like that was a big factor is Herbert coming out late, where they could have had a chance to come back. I mean,
Yeah.
a chance, but yeah, this was a fun game, but it was exactly what you expected it to be.
Well, also next week, again, as we alluded to, it'll be Chiefs at Chargers. I'm sure that game will come down to the wire and some fuckery will happen. But let's go on to our next game, Casino, which was supposed to be a marquee matchup that kind of didn't live up to the hype, at least in my mind. And that was Lions at Cardinals. It was still a good game, but I guess I was just expecting more. It ends up being 20-13. Lions win at Arizona. The Lions are now 2-1. Arizona Cardinals now 1-2. Are the Lions still the NFC frontrunner?
Um, man, again, I think it's wide open, but I'm going to say no.
Ooh, you think it's the Vikings?
No. I I like the Packers.
Ooh, well, we'll get to them in a
I've
second.
everything that I have seen from the Packers, man. Everything. I mean, do I still think that the Lions are a better shot to win? Yes, because they're still winning their games. Well, I know they're 2-1, but they're in close matchups. Like it's early in the season, they can figure it out. They've got the weapons, they've got the coaching, they can figure this out moving forward. But the Packers, with what they're doing with Malik Willis, with a young roster, the youngest roster in the league still, I love everything they're doing about. So, are the Lions still the NFC frontrunner? I would say no. Um, and you can arguably put the Packers there now, or not the Packers, the Vikings there. Um, but I still like what I'm seeing from the Lions, even though they have been close games and whatnot. But look what they did to Arizona, who was on a hot streak. They came in
Mhm.
and shut the doors with them. They shut the doors on them. So I still like the Lions a lot, but I like the Packers, man. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. It's
Yeah.
gonna be fun.
My concern with the Lions is you look at this game and you look at everything just on paper, and everything they want to go right went right. Right. So it's David Montgomery had over 100 yards. Jameer Gibbs had almost over 100 yards. Jared Goff had almost 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, good completion percentage. Now, obviously, they don't want him throwing interceptions, but still. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown and Laporta were their two top wide receivers in the games in terms of yards, targets, blah, blah, blah. So right there, you have quarterback having a good game. Both your running backs almost putting up 200 rushing yards. Your two best receiving options having the most yards in the game. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown got a touchdown. Now, Laporta had this third highest targets behind Brock Wright, but still he had the second most yards. But what I'm saying is you look at the Lions in this game, everything they wanted, they got to happen, and they still only put up 20
Yeah, okay,
points
but so
against a
my
Cardinals
argument
team.
okay, but my argument on that though is they led the entire game. There was that one point where in the second quarter they were up 20-7. All right,
Mhm.
and 20-7, and then Prater gets that late field goal to end the half. You're up 20, right? And you're 20-10 going in. Yes, that doesn't mean take your foot off the gas, but you can now clock manage. And I feel like they were going to do that, and they did it well. Prater only gets one more field goal for the game. That's what it ends on. They did what they needed to do, and I think they played situational football going into Arizona. They wanted the win, they needed the win, and so they didn't have to be super, super aggressive when their defense was holding the Cardinals.
But on the flip side of that, don't you think it's concerning that at halftime they have 20 points, and then halftime when you're supposed to be making adjustments, reacting to what you've seen in the first half, they come out and don't put another point on the board for 2 full
I mean,
quarters?
that's fair. That's a good point. The no point, good point. But fair enough, fair enough. But I'm again, they aren't my front runners anymore. I have other contenders now, but
Yeah.
I still don't think it's panic time. They're 2-1 still. So I'm okay with what's going on here.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the Cardinals casino, are the Cardinals the new dark horse playoff team? Meaning, can we potentially, even though they're 1-2, we like what we've seen from the Cardinals 3 weeks in almost every game they've played, right? And again, they've lost to what could potentially be the best team in the NFL right now, which is the Bills, and they went blow for blow with them. And then they lost to Detroit, who you and I both had as the number one NFC team going into this season.
Okay, that's
So,
fair, but I don't like what they've got coming up. I mean,
well, they
these are
do.
going to be
I don't know how
four.
they got such a ridiculously hard schedule.
They have the Commanders coming up, and you know how I feel about the Commanders. We'll get to them after
Yeah.
this marquee win. You got the Commanders, the Niners. I just don't think that they can lose anymore. They're in that situation. It's a must win, must win. They're playing at home. Cardinals got to. That's going to be tough. I mean, because the Niners they lose that game, and I don't regardless what they do next week, like that's still putting them in a hole. And then you got the
Yeah.
Packers, who I think is the best team in the NFC right now, and then you have the Chargers, who are going to punch them in the face. And
Yeah.
then I mean, then you have Dolphins. The Dolphins are whatever, but
Well, also by
then you
week
play the
8,
Bears, and you play
they might
that
have
Bears
Tua back.
defense. Yeah, then
Yeah.
you have that Bears defense, and then you have the Jets, which could be whatever, and then the Seahawks, who are doing great right now. And then yeah, I mean, yeah, you got an easier last half. You have the Patriots, Cardinals, Rams, but then you play the Niners again. They don't have an easy schedule, so I
Or the
think they
Panthers. You
fall.
said Cardinals.
What's
You said
up?
they had the Cardinals. They have the Panthers.
They got the Panthers. Thank you. That's what
Yeah.
I meant. Um, I was just reading because across the board,
Yeah,
straight
yeah.
across. But this is going to be tough for this team starting 1-2, even though they're playing all right, to be able to get to that playoff spot. I think there's other teams with easier schedules that are as good, if not better, than the Cardinals. So I don't
Yeah.
think they're playoff bound.
I think the Cardinals are going to be one of those teams where they could literally beat any other team any week, but again, they're losing against the good teams, and for the rest of their schedule, they play a lot of good teams.
Play a lot of good teams.
Like almost every good team they play, which
Yeah.
is
You
absolutely
got you
insane.
literally you got a break when you play the Patriots and Panthers, and that's it.
Yeah, and even with them, we've seen the Patriots and Panthers both play good games. We just
That
saw
was that one.
yeah. Next up, Casino, what was supposed to be a marquee game that again was over
Ah, no, I
almost
told you this was gonna
immediately.
happen. Ah,
Um, the
I was surprised the Cowboys
Ravens,
came back.
the Ravens win in Dallas 28-25 after going up. I mean, what? They were up 20 20 or they were up 28-6 wet
Yeah,
deep into the fourth quarter,
and
and
Cowboys
then
19 points in the fourth quarter.
and all of that was just
Oh,
garbage time, garbage points. The Ravens were kind of just on easy mode. There was
Dak threw for 51 times.
Yeah, and I mean 30 of those must have been in the fourth quarter because it was just all. And again, these when you look at the Cowboys stats, they're all inflated from basically the fourth quarter because the first three quarters, this team was doing
Dude,
absolutely nothing.
they have nothing in the run game. Nothing.
No,
Their best running back that game was Rico Dowdle? Doodle?
doubtable.
Dowdle?
Yeah,
Dowdle?
who
I mean,
was 8 carries,
Zeke
32
had 3
yards.
carries for 6 yards. Oh, man, does Jerry Jones miss paying him, right?
Yeah, and then again,
God.
he was,
This team is in shambles. CeeDee Lamb just got paid. He got 67 yards off of 4 receptions. No touchdowns. This team is god awful. They just started 0-2 at home. 0-2.
yeah.
0-2
And
at home for
again,
the season.
not
They're done.
0-2
They're
in
done.
close games, 0-2 in blowouts,
They're
back-to-back weeks.
they are done. They are done.
Well,
I
that was
mean,
my question. Did that loss ruin the Cowboys season?
oh, definitely. And definitely. And especially with what just happened, what Washington just did, it's done. And what good go back to the Ravens real quick. Lamar Jackson, he didn't throw many times, 15. He went 12 for 15, 182 yards, which is actually a lot of yardage for only 12 completions with the touchdown. He ran the ball for 87 yards, and Derrick Henry ran for 151 yards. 3 touchdowns between the two of them. That's exactly what I thought was going to be was those two just running it and looking great doing it. And
Yeah.
and talking about what's up, honey?
Well,
Yes, we're going to swim later.
the thing with this Cowboys team, I mean, you look at what their ratings are, and it basically tells you the entire issue we had when we were previewing this team at the beginning of the season. They have the number one passing offense in the league, mostly due to them being in 2 blowouts and trying to get back in those games. Right? Like it's because again, they base passing ratings on yards. So Dak Prescott, the Cowboys have always been great front runners, great, we need to come back teams, right? Do they come back? Most of the time, no, but they're great at giving you that sense of we're going to come back. So they are the number one rated passing offense of the league, 30th in rushing. I'm honestly surprised they're not 32nd because they have maybe the worst wide
All day.
receiver or
Yeah.
running back group
Running
in the
running
league.
core, yeah.
But the real question mark for this team is they have the 28th ranked total defense right now. What the hell happened? The whole talk of the offseason was they're losing everybody on their offense. They didn't lose anybody on their defense. What happened to their defense? Was
Apparently they need to be rested. That
well,
offense can't stay on the field, then they get worked.
I was told, we were all told Dan Quinn is a great defensive
But
coordinator, but
everybody's gonna say everything they want to say about the Cowboys to try to hype them up. Get over it. The Cowboys stink. They're poo poo. They're in the damn bowl. They're done. They're done. They're done. They're done. And I
uh
love every second of this. I love
so
every second of this because Jerry Jones pays his players that he wants to pay, and not even the ones he wants to pay, the ones that cry and cry and cry and cry and want to get a payday, and they get their payday, and then they stink. This team is done. Jerry Jones needs to retire before he dies. Enjoy his last 2 years of life. I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean, but he's old. Just stop. The fans are ready for you to be done. The fans are ready for you to be done. The organization, I guarantee you, there's a ton of people in that organization that are ready for him to be done and hold and let go of his clinches. He obviously wants to win, but he's making money. He doesn't care. The Cowboys still make stupid, stupid, stupid money. Stupid money.
Oh yeah, they're like
Yeah,
worth $5 billion or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 6 billion, but still, whatever it is, it's insane that he's still making his money. Yes, he wants to win, but he don't care. He's making his money. He's the worst. All right, I'm done. Rant's over. We need to move on. We've got a lot to cover. It's already been
We
40
do.
minutes. We
I
need, we need to
know.
start blowing through some things. We still got college ball. We got the Sunday show and my corner. Let's go.
Yeah. But again,
Sorry.
we're told Dan Quinn and Mike Zimmer, same people. I was told that, and then apparently not.
They called you on the
Uh,
phone.
Last of the marquee matchups, Casino. Chiefs at Falcons. So my question to you is, are the Falcons still the clear favorites of the NFC South, as both you and I said they would be?
Well, considering the Falcons were supposed to win that game, yeah. And they did win that game. They won that game. How in the hell I can't. How in the hell was that not called? How? It's insane.
You know
This
what I
is
love
it's
about
so it's so egregious and known to everybody. Like this is not even when the Patriots are going, I never saw this much hate saying that the refs were helping the Patriots win. Like unless I was just completely blind to it or social media wasn't a huge thing as a big enough thing yet, I never saw where it was that much favored via the refs. You can say other things, this or that, about how the Patriots were winning. But when it came down to the actual officiating, I don't, I can't recall it being this bad. I just can't. I don't recall it. I mean, you're an outside perspective. Was it this much hate about the refs with the Patriots? Or
no, no,
was I
not
just
about
not a paying?
no, with the Patriots, it was all about like the cheating and deflate gate and all that kind of stuff, but that was all self-inflicted just shit, right? Whether we
Okay.
could save that discussion for another day. This is and also there was the whole thing like Roger Goodell in the league hates the
Like
Patriots. That was the whole
I'm
thing.
literally yes, and I'm legitimately and just quick note on that is a lot of those allegations they were never proven this or that, and Patriots still got slapped with stuff and they still won, so it is whatever.
Yeah. Well,
So
they had their best season after all that shit where they almost
yeah,
went undefeated. So,
yes,
but
but
with this Chiefs casino, it becomes one of those things where they go, "Oh, that's clearly not pass interference." And then it's like it's the same exact thing that happened last week against the Bengals.
right,
It's the
and
same
and
play.
last week was the closer to the bang bang. This is not even close to bang bang.
No.
He was on him before he even right at the as he was Kyle Pitts was entering the end zone. Okay, that should have been called there. This is where I have a problem with the play. With whether you want to say, oh, it was close and whatever. The defender never turned his head around
No.
ever,
He never
never.
looked at the ball, never once.
No,
Which is the number one rule where they say obviously it's pass interference. He wasn't looking at the ball. He was like just
so
draped all over the defender.
and I will and so the Chiefs fan, my friend, the diehard Chiefs fan, my friend Weston, born and bred Chiefs fan. We sent that still picture of that football 5 yards away from Kyle Pitts while he was being held down, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll give you that one." He even said the guy who will 100% argue every single play in favor of his team because he thinks it's fun. He couldn't even argue that one. He even goes, "Yeah, I'll give you that one." That's the game. That's the game. It's ridiculous. I'm done with the Chiefs. We're moving on. They're going to win. They're going undefeated.
Well, that
Let's
was my question.
They're going
Are the
undefeated. They're
Chiefs
gonna
going to
yes,
three-peat?
yes, they're gonna three-peat. It's done. Let's go. Moving on. We have way too much to cover. I just texted you saying that we're gonna speed up the show, and I would stop my rants, but I can't about the Chiefs. We need to move on, or I'm just gonna keep yelling. I've just
The
watched this video. I've watched this Kyle Pitts video. I have it on my side by side. This is probably the 10th time, and now we're circling into the 11th time. I'm done. I'm done.
What I love about this is Casino was so low energy coming into this episode, and then we got to the Cowboys in this part, and he's like shot out of a cannon now. So just speaking football wise, Casino, the Falcons take away that obvious PI because I agree with everything you said. Take away that obvious PI. The Falcons, it felt like had 6 or 7 different opportunities to win this game, and then just called the dumbest plays I've ever seen in my
That's
life.
fair. Okay.
That fourth down
And
play where they run, they have to get 1 yard, and instead they send Bijan Robinson 5 yards to the left was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Who
that's
thought
fair.
that play would work?
And to see and going back on your last question, are they the contenders still for yeah, there we go. The favorites.
Clear favorites.
I would have said yes if the Bucks won. Or I would have said no if the Bucks won, but I'm still going to at this point say yes, I think they'll figure it out.
I agree. I don't think they're clear favorites, but I still think they have the best team, especially of
Yes,
how
and that's
up
where
and
I'm at. I
down.
think they have the best team.
Yes.
If the Bucks would have won, all day. Like they're clear favorites, but I think the Bucks or the Falcons can come back. You know, they're only 1 game behind the Bucks now, so we're okay. It's
And the
not
Chiefs, it doesn't matter what they do. They're going to get into the playoffs. They're going to go to the Super Bowl. The regular season does not matter to them.
no.
They're 3-0. There's no way
Let's
this team should be
can we
3-0.
just keep going? I can't. Just go.
Now we go to our mid matchups, Casino, where
Yeah.
I only have 1 question per game because half of these teams again are
we gotta
I don't
move.
care about. Next up, Broncos at Bucks. Broncos, this was the upset pick of the week that neither of us saw coming. Broncos get their first win of the season behind an actual really good game by Bo Nix. That
Great game.
was
Still not the best rookie game of the week, though.
it would have been had Monday night not happened because he goes 25 for 36, 216 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but he also ran in a touchdown on a really good I really like what I've seen from both Bo Nix and from Jaden Daniels on just their running ability.
Yeah.
But my question, Casino, is we saw the Bucks lose this game 26-7 after we'd nonstop.
It was the
Bucks.
turnovers. It was the fumble. It was the interception. You know, and they
And that
allowed
Baker
7. Well, and they allowed 7 sacks. So
Yeah,
you know,
Baker was constantly under pressure. That
all day.
INT he threw was unforgivable. That is a bad INT.
So
So
it was
I'm
just
gonna
a bad game. It was a bad game. That offensive line needed to step up. The turnovers, they got to give credit to the Broncos. They just came in and took care of business. They're like, hey, we might be one of the worst teams in the league, but we're going to show up for, you know, we're still professional players. I don't have this could be their only win of the season, but I mean, they showed why they're still a professional football team. Let's just call it that.
So my question, I asked it about the Saints, Casino. I'm going to ask it the same question about the Bucks.
No, the Bucks
Are the Bucks full gold?
Oh, no, the Bucks? No, not at all. No, they
No.
had a bad game. They had a bad game. It
I
is what it
agree.
is. Sacks
if
allowed, like they just got worked. They got worked. It happens. You're still
And
playing against
also-
other professional football players. Any given Sunday is a real thing. No matter how much we say, you know, we know what's going to happen. The Bucks got their teeth kicked in. They shake it off. They'll come back and play next week.
Well, also they play the Eagles next week. So all of a sudden, if the Bucks come out and beat the Eagles again like they did in the playoffs, all of a sudden everybody's hot. The Bucks are actually garbage takes are going to dry up real quick.
Yeah.
But
Moving on.
let's move on next to Bears at Colts, Casino.
And here's the thing. I'm fine with you picking the Colts to win. That's what you had that pick. I picked the Bears solely because of that defense. And you know what? The defense didn't play bad. The defense
Nope.
still played well, but God damn, I'm over Caleb Williams. Yes, he threw 52 times, 33 completions, 363 yards. Yes, that's a lot. He did great. He had 2 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions. That's just way too much for a rookie quarterback to be doing. That's just way too much. And the fact that he threw for almost 400 yards and the Bears still only had 16 points is just mind-blowing to me. Just absolutely mind blowing. And again, what did Anthony Richardson? I thought the Bears were going to pull this off because Richardson was going to throw picks in this game. He threw 2 picks in this game. I I can't believe the Bears lost this game. Like I just
Yeah.
can't.
And my
Everything
question,
everything says here is the Bears should have won this game.
yeah. So my question, Casino, is when do the Bears win their next game? Because they play the Rams, they play the Panthers, they play the Jaguars. Again, Rams still won, but they're pretty banged up. Panthers look good. Jaguars look like the worst team in the league. So all of a sudden, are we seeing them rattle off 3 wins in a row, or are they
No.
just going to keep doing this, much like they did against the Texans and almost did against the Titans, where they basically outplay the other team the whole game and then still lose?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think that's the case. I feel bad for this defense. This defense looks so good. And that, if you recall, that's why I said this team was going to win this week, was because of their defense. And they had 2 picks. I thought they were going to be able to do, but it's the fact that the Bears had that much opportunity. They had the ball for 10 minutes longer and they still couldn't pull this off. It's mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
And it's the fumbles lost, it's the interceptions, it's their turnover ratio that's just horrible. They still allowed 4 sacks. Like they're not good. They can't get it done. They just can't get it done. They're not going to get it done. They had 26 first downs compared to the Colts 15, and they still could not get it done.
Yeah. And then we also just see Caleb Williams have his first good game. But again, why are you having your rookie quarterback throw 52 times? Oh, it's because you have no running game whatsoever. You have maybe the worst offensive line in the league. DeAndre Swift goes from the Eagles, where he puts up a top 5 rushing performance. Again, kind of unfair because it's behind maybe the first or second best offensive line in the league, but goes to the Bears, 13 carries, 20 yards, basically averaging a yard and a half per carry. So you're not going to get anything out of that. And then again, where the wide receivers are actually had a pretty great games, but then when
Yeah.
you look at Caleb Williams, his first good game, and this game never even close. Like,
Yeah.
it never felt like the Bears were ever going to win, even like you
Mm.
said, with Anthony Richardson having a bad game, Jonathan Taylor having a great game, but outside of him, the Colts had nothing. And they still, it felt like, easily won this game against a defense that I left out of my top 5 or NFL defenses, but they're probably the 5th best. Like in the
Easily. They're
Yeah,
definitely in the top 5.
yeah.
All right, moving on.
Next up, Casino. Your team now, Packers at Titans, and are the Packers a legit Super Bowl contender?
I think so. And they're doing this without Jordan Love. They're doing this with Malik Willis, dude. Like,
It's crazy.
yeah, I
Again,
mean, he was 13 for
coaching.
19, 13 for 19, not even great, 200 yards, a touchdown. He protected the football. They protected the football, and like the stats for the team is just not. They had 188 rushing yards. That's what won them the game was time of possession against the Titans. They only had 33 rushing yards. Ooh, do they miss Henry? Woohoo, woohoo. But they protected the football, man. That's and look what the defense did. The Packers defense. They recovered a fumble and they had 2 interceptions. Like, great job. Like, they
Yeah.
playing football, you create turnovers and you protect the football. You can be mediocre in this league. If you can protect the football and create turnovers, 95% of the time you're going to win the game, and that's what they did. I like this coaching. I can't wait to see what they do when Jordan Love comes back. Malik Willis coming in and getting this done, I love it. I love every
Yeah.
second of it. I wasn't super high on the Packers. I thought they would do okay. I think I had the Packers. Didn't I have the Packers at least making the playoffs? I don't
I
remember what
think
my
we
pick was.
both had them as wild card teams, I wanna
Yeah,
say.
but dude, they look great, and the Lions, they better shape up. The Packers look great. I love it. I think this is the team to beat in the NFC right now.
Hmm.
Look
I also think
what they're doing with backup quarterback, but not even their quarterback they just paid with this young roster, and what they did last year with this young roster. they're doing good. I like this team. They're surprisingly fun to watch.
Yeah, both you and I both had the Packers making the playoffs. So yeah, we both had the Lions as the number 1 seed, Packers both making the playoffs out of the NFC. So, yeah, again, I am very, very curious to see what the Vikings Packers game looks like this week when it happens, especially in Lambeau Field. So,
That's going to be the
if
best game of the week.
looking at the slate, I think I would agree. I'm looking forward to that game the most. Yeah, but I really want to see before I stake my claim on the or before I jump on the Packers bandwagon, I do want to see how they go against the Vikings because
And vice versa. Like
yeah,
same. Like I think whoever wins this game is the front runner for the NF for making to the Super Bowl.
that's a
Out
good
of the
yeah.
out of the NFC. I mean, they would be 4-0 and they're beating good teams.
Yeah, no, that's true. Again, but I don't get why everyone's still so bullish on the Vikings, even though we've seen them beat literally two of the best teams in the league back to
Again,
back.
and they're doing that without a true tight end with they're one of the best in the game, TJ Hawkinson. Wait till he comes back.
Yeah,
Oof. Oof.
yeah,
Because
I agree.
there's a security blanket that you've been waiting to dry off out of the dryer. You've just been waiting for it. It's almost winter time. It's almost winter time. You get to get that nice blankie over you. Sorry, that was
Uh
weird. Moving on.
yeah. Next up, Dolphins at Seahawks Casino. Simple question here. Are the Dolphins done? Are
The
they
Dolphins are
finished?
the Dolphins are done. The Dolphins. Are you choking on water? Is that what's happening, little boy? He's just got a big old smile like a
Ironic
sippy cup.
considering you're talking about the
Yeah.
Dolphins
Yep.
for her to be
He's
choking
just
on water.
all day.
Uh
But yeah, he's done. And with that being said, he's done. The Seahawks 3-0 with their new head coach, Geno Smith, man. I know he threw two picks this game. Then stop drinking the water, man.
but again, their running back who we saw
Sorry,
flashes of last year.
my son
And
is
then
doing the whole tiramisu office bit where he's just like coughing and then he's like looks like he's gonna be done and then he takes more drink of water and then he coughs again. Just stop. Just stop.
uh but no, the emergence of the Seahawks, not only defense, which is fantastic, but their running back in Chabernet, I want to say Chabernet. I don't know how you say his last name, but I know last year he had flashes and he was like running back by committee. This year he's taken off. DK Metcalf has reemerged as one of the best wide receivers in the league. 4 receptions, 104 yards, 1 touchdowns. I mean, you just watch him play and it's incredible.
And you're watching Geno Smith hit him. It's
Yeah.
just like their connection. They had to have done some massive work in the offseason together because it's outstanding.
So my question, I also agree. I think it's pretty point blank the Dolphins are done. I honestly think at this point they should probably sit Tua for at least half the season, just
No,
make sure he's
Tua needs to
fine.
retire. He's
Yeah,
going to
but
be
he
a
won't.
freaking vegetable.
Yeah, he won't.
Look,
That's the whole thing.
Casino's Corner, I'm going to talk about it. Brett Favre.
There
Go.
you go. But my question with the Seahawks Casino is, are they now the clear favorites in the NFC West?
In the NFC West, yes.
I think so as well. I mean, you
In
look
the
at
NFC West, until the Niners get their team back together healthy, yes.
well, who knows if that happens, though? I mean, right now, they have a 2-game lead over the Cardinals, Rams, and San Francisco 49ers, all teams who are 1 and 2. Seahawks 3-0. Injuries are obviously taking a huge factor out of the Los Angeles Rams or San Francisco 49ers losing games right now. I mean, the Rams and 49ers are playing guys you've literally never heard of. And for the 49ers, they're losing 2 in a row. Rams squeaked out that game. We'll talk about them in a minute. And then Cardinals again are their schedule is just brutal as we just talked about. So
Right.
let's go. So yeah, as far as the Seahawks go, I think they will win the NFC West and maybe be right there with the Packers, Vikings, Eagles, Lions as just legitimate contenders for the NFC Super Bowl. But let's go to Monday Night Football Casino, a game that, thank God, there was 2 Monday Night Football games last night because this one was you didn't even have to watch it. I watched this way longer than I probably should have, thinking the Jaguars would actually make a comeback, and then I switched over to Bengals Commanders and never looked back. Are the Bills right now the best team in the NFL?
Um, no, I no, um, and I wouldn't even say in the AFC. I mean, yes, they are. Okay, so in the AFC they are. NFC and everything, I don't know. I still like the Packers and like what the Vikings are doing. Um, but man, I told you about the Bills. This is the resurgence of Josh Allen. What a game by this man. What a game by this man. Yeah, what is it? 4 touchdowns? What's up? Yeah, 4 touchdowns.
I
23
mean,
for
what a
30.
season so far. Just
Yeah,
incredible.
outstanding. Um, just he looked amazing. This team looks so energized. And little shout out to number 3, uh, Mr. Hamlin. He did get his first interception in
Or,
his
well,
career.
whoever replaced the real DeMar Hamlin,
There it
whoever
is.
replaced him.
But
Yeah.
Ham finally getting an interception, first in his career. Great on it. You love to see it, whoever it is, whether it's him or D or DH3 squared. I don't know. Two,
Yeah.
I don't know. But good on him. That was a cool moment for DeMar Hamlin. This Buffalo team looks so good. And yes, they played the Jags, but they made this look easy. They made this look real easy.
Well, also the thing with the Bills, with Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, the two things going into the season were they will be great quarterbacks if they can turn down their turnovers. So obviously
Turned
Hurts
down
has had
for
a
what?
turnover. Exactly. He's had a turnover problem all season. Josh Allen, on the other hand, 7 passing touchdowns, 2 fumbles, only one of them lost. So technically he only has one turnover this entire season compared to 7 touchdowns. And my question, I really thought this was going to be the year the Bills were just like had a meltdown and we're all of a sudden like we're in rebuilding mode. We're selling off all our assets to put a new team around Josh Allen and just reload, right? And I've been proven completely wrong. The Bills have blown out all 3 teams they played. Now, again, they didn't blow out the Cardinals, but the Cardinals definitely never stopped them. So, in the first 3 weeks, Josh Allen, this was his best game by far. I feel like his first game was all about his rushing. Last game was kind of a mix. This game was all about his passing, even though he still was the team's leading runner. I think that he has really ascended to the Mahomes esque, not Mahomes level, because nobody's on his level right now, but the Mahomes esque level, which is he doesn't need anybody else around him, right? You just put him on a team, you let him go, and he's going to lead you to wins with his legs, with his arms, does not matter. So, right now, I do think the Bills are the best team in the league, but I also think looking ahead to their schedule as much as we did with the Cardinals, the next weeks, again, they're playing against a Baltimore Ravens team that might have saved their season.
Yep.
Houston Texans team that I mean, they're still one of the best teams in the AFC, and then a New York Jets team that might have just saved their season with the last 2 weeks. So they're going to play again. Then they go Titans, 3-0 Seahawks, we just talked about, Dolphins, Colts, and then the Chiefs. So by their bye week in week 12, I think we should know whether or not this Bills team is legit because they're going to play a lot of tough competition in the AFC and then some of the better NFC teams. So, yeah, we'll see by again that Chiefs game how real this Buffalo team is. But right now, I would say I do think they are the best team in the NFL.
There you go.
Uh Other Monday night game casino that was on last night.
And we have 2 hot takes that are coming to fruition. I love it.
I mean, we had one hot take that was a positive, one hot take that was a negative. I was the negative, you were the positive, and both of those, I mean, we are so money, it's not even funny.
There it
Uh
is.
are your Commanders a playoff team, Casino?
I think so. I've told you. I like it, and they're going to hit their stride. They are playing great football. They're protecting the football, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
I love it.
38-33 against the now 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals. My hot take before the start of the season was the Bengals would be a dumpster
And you know
fire.
what's sad is Joe Burrow actually played a really good game.
Yeah. No, he did, but I'll tell you who had maybe one of the best rookie games as a quarterback we've ever seen, and that was Jaden Daniels, 21 for 23, which is incredible. I think they said on the broadcast that was a rookie record for completion percentage in a game.
Dude,
254 yards, 2
his his
touchdowns.
QBR rating so far through 3 games is 111.8. He is
Yeah.
looking phenomenal.
Also,
He's look
your take that he would be rookie of the year.
I mean,
That's
no
also
picks.
one.
He is no 0. Yes, he's only has 2 intercept or 2 touchdowns throughout the season so far, but he has 0 interceptions.
He
0
does have 3
interceptions.
fumbles, though. He does have 3
Okay.
fumbles.
All right.
So
Well, you blame that on his blind side. You blame that on the on him getting work because still O lines and these rookie quarterbacks are running for their lives.
well,
I will argue that.
the
But
only thing I do not like when I watch Jaden Daniels play is, yes, he runs too much, but I have more of a problem with the hits he takes. Some
oh,
of the
okay.
hits he takes are just brutal. Like,
That's you're
he
totally
is
fair.
teed off on, and
Yeah, but
that was
you give the Washington one good season. Let's go. So casino could be right here.
yeah.
The Bengals sadly are done. I don't care even if they rattle off and they go 500 and they rattle off 3 games here. That's a tough deficit. I don't recall the last time an 0-3 team has made the playoffs. So, yeah, the Bengals, to my opinion, are done. Sad because Joe Burrow looked like he had just started turning.
Well,
Jamar Chase had a really good game, 2 touchdowns. Like it looked like things are starting to go up for him, but still, like 0-3, tough beat.
Well, the thing that was definitely not as talked about in this game was how both of these defenses are just some of the worst defenses in the league. I
Yeah,
don't feel like that was brought up at all during this game about how bad the Bengals defense has been this season, only outshined by how much worse the Commanders defense has looked this season, because the Commanders defense, the Bengals had a rough go, but at least I've seen them be somewhat competent in that Chiefs game where they actually look like a competent defense. I have not seen through 3 weeks of this season the Commanders look like they have a competent defense. Their defense is rough. I don't think it gets talked about enough about how bad their defense is, especially now. Again, you're playing against Burrow, and most of that game is garbage time, but their defense right now, 29th ranked in the league, and I think it might be worse. They're literally a top 5 bottom defense in this league, and again, they're playing in an NFC where even with a bad Cowboys team, the Cowboys are going to put up points. They have a very bad rushing defense.
yeah, okay, that's fair. You could say the Cowboys are going to put up points, but so are the Commanders.
Well,
I
that's
have
true.
the
Yeah,
Commanders are going to be a better team, and I said it. I said it. The Commanders are going to come out probably second in that division, and it is what it is.
I think so as well. Let's move on, Casino. We
Yeah,
only
we
had a
are
couple
way
miserable
behind.
matchups, but we can go through these really quick. 49ers at Rams. Rams erase a 10-point
I
deficit
can't
in the
believe that they
last,
won.
what,
These
in
are
the
2
last
dead. These are
7
2
minutes?
teams. I'm surprised it was that high scoring with these 2 teams having no offensive weapons, but
Yeah.
I guess it is what it is.
And again, what is the narrative now going to be on Brock Purdy when he doesn't have weapons? Because he had one guy in this game and he threw for almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Exactly. Like stop with the Purdy hate. Stop with the Purdy hate.
I don't know what the guy has to do. He's working with a backup running back. Their third and fourth wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, who they gave all that money to, has done literally nothing this entire season.
Yeah.
Uh, so great job there. I remember when
Thank
he
you.
was like, I'm not going to the Steelers. I want to stay with the 49ers. And now all of a sudden the Steelers are one of the best teams in the league and the 49ers are 1-2. But Juwan Jennings had the game of his life, 11 receptions, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns on 12 targets. So literally targeted 12 times, didn't catch the ball once. Had the game of his life. Brock Purdy, great game. The Rams on the other side just never gave up. Were down almost the entire game and then all of a sudden rattle off 13 points in the fourth quarter. And again, it was like the last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. And then come back to win on Matthew Stafford's arm, 16 for 25, 221 yards, one touchdown. And then Kyron Williams, 24 carries, 89 yards, two touchdowns. But no Puka Nakua, no Cooper Cup, no anybody. These guys are just showing great just quarterbacking, throwing to third and or
They're
fourth
doing
and fifth.
great. They're doing great jobs.
Yeah,
They're
it's
doing fantastic.
I don't think either of these teams, and these are my two questions, Casino, will the Niners or will the Rams make the playoffs?
I don't know, man. They got to get their weapons back because they're going to need them to go against the top tier teams.
Yeah, and that was my question. And at this moment, I would say for both of them, especially when you could make a case that 3 NFC North teams make the playoffs, you could make the case that the Commanders and the Eagles make the playoffs right now. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. But right now, I'm saying no. Our last two games, we don't even really have to talk about,
Yeah.
Casino. Giants at Browns,
I got the
Panthers.
Giants win. Woohoo!
Yeah, you did pick the Giants win, and also Giants defense, their front seven looks really, really good. I'm
Yeah.
scared to play that Giants front seven. I think their offense is abysmal, and they definitely miss Saquon Barkley, but Malik Neighbors is legit. He's the real deal. They kind of seem like the Cowboys in a weird way. Like their entire offense is one wide receiver. Now, Daniel Jones is nowhere near as good as Dak Prescott, but they seem like the Cowboys of last year. They have no run game. They have one wide receiver, and then their front seven is really good. How many wins will that give him? I don't know, but saying the Giants are the worst team in the league, I don't think we can say that anymore. I legit think the Giants are a formidable team. Browns, we don't even really have to talk about. They are who we thought they were, right? Last one, Casino, the game you were actually at, who you said would be the blowout of the week.
Yeah, I said it. I got it right.
Well, it was the blowout of the week, except if we don't count Bills Jaguars. And however, the Panthers were the ones who blew out our Las Vegas
And
Raiders.
you know why? It was because they put in the Red Rocket.
Andy Dalton.
The Red Rocket came out and he looked good. He was firing. He was firing in all directions.
26 for 37, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, no
great.
interceptions.
He looked great. He looked so good.
And really my only question from this game, Casino, is will Bryce Young ever be a starter again? Just in the NFL.
I told my wife and my best friend that where I was with, I was just like, he's done. He's done. Andy Dalton just had a great game. They got their first W. He's riding the bench. He's definitely not going to play for the Panthers next year. You know, they're not going to pay him. Like, he's done. And he's going to go and play as a backup. The only time he's going to get a starting quarterback job now is if somebody gets hurt. Because he's bad. He is bad.
Well, this also just might be a Sam Darnold situation where maybe or a Baker Mayfield situation where he just floats around the league for 6-7 years and then maybe gets another shot.
I don't know.
Think,
when I saw him on the sideline, because I mean, just putting it out there, my best friend, they have club seats. It's actually very close to the field, and we were on the visiting side. We were on the side, and I got to see very up close and personal the height of Bryce Young. And not just his height, his body frame. It didn't look like he had any pads on. He is tiny. He is a tiny human being.
Yeah.
I mean, he would look like if I was out there in pads. We're roughly the same and in everything. That would be like me out there in pads. I couldn't imagine myself standing next to some of those guys. I would be scared shitless.
Yeah.
And it's done. He's
done.
And
I've seen your body. Yuck. No. So stay tuned for tomorrow. We'll do maybe, I don't know. We'll do Casino's Corner. And
which we just tried to
football.
do, and it was horrendous.
Yeah. So we will do all those things tomorrow on a special Wednesday episode because this one went long. But this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. This is the end of the show. We'll see you tomorrow and Thursday. Adios.
Bye.